care if you paid. Get out.
I'm not
That's
leaving,
how that
bro.
works.
I paid. I'm not leaving.
No.
I'm not
if
leaving.
you cause a ruckus in the classroom,
I'm not leaving.
Everyone loves to talk about themselves.
Loves
And you know what they love even more? When someone's listening to them talk about themselves.
100%.
Oh, you're going to make some girl so happy one day.
Yeah,
you're such a great
and
guy.
You know what's Yo, bro, they'll tell him that. They'll tell him that. Yo, you're such a great guy. You're one of the good ones.
You're one of the good ones.
But
yeah.
You ain't trying to.
Yeah.
You ain't trying to.
You ain't trying to slide it.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the NOA Podcast. Being your co-host Tyler, I'm here with my man's Trey. Just want to start off by saying thank you guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in, watching us, especially if you are a returning viewer. If you're new to the show, welcome. I didn't mean to call y'all customers. That was low-key rude. Thank y'all nonetheless. So Trey, would you like to introduce what we have on the
topic for the day? All right. So main thing we kind of got going for us today, guys, is why are so many young men giving up on relationships in the 2000s? Frankly, 2025 we're in now, right?
Facts.
Tyler, do you have any an idea of why our peers, frankly us included at times, have decided that the juice ain't worth the squeeze, as the saying goes?
I think a lot of it is just, I feel like how we treat each other. In terms of, I'll kind of speak on the men, and I'm not going to sit here and kind of like bash women, because I know men.
It's both sides.
Yeah, it definitely is both sides, but the men seeing how women treat them, whether that's what they go through in person or whether or not that's what they see on social media, I think after hearing that women don't necessarily need men, that they are scared of us, which, I mean, I understand there's some creepy men out there, but to like not be a weirdo and like to hear that like a woman is just genuinely scared of me just because I'm a man, it's kind of like, dang, like you don't even know me, lady.
Yeah, I've done nothing to you.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm mad cool, but like,
and yet I'm terrifying.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
To hear women kind of bash on us and bash men, after a while, that takes a toll, you know? And as young men, we kind of start to think, hey, maybe we should just kind of stay alone or like just like do our own thing, you know? Later on in the show, we're kind of going to like talk about marriage and I don't think this is a good thing, but because of the society we in, we're like sexually free. So like a lot of guys are like, why should I settle down or chase after a woman who isn't going to appreciate me, isn't going to like me, isn't going to really be there for me, when I could just stay solo, and whenever I want to get my fix, I can either just hook up with a random woman and never see her again. Not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's the truth of the matter.
That's the reality of our situation.
Or I can literally just go on my phone and please myself. Look up any type of person, any type of woman I want.
Any genre.
And then please myself. And then once that fix is over, go back to living my life. I don't even have to leave my house if I ain't want to. You know
and I think AI is coming into play now too with that whole thing too.
Bro, it's crazy, bro. You gonna have AI girlfriends, bro.
Yeah. That's actually being like more of a thing now. Like AI,
which is wild. You can have a girlfriend that's not even real.
Yeah, bro. AI girlfriends and boyfriends. They have like apps for it and everything. You could talk to them. Whole shebang.
And now they're trying to make it.
I've seen ads for it, man.
Now they're trying to make them real.
They are making.
They're trying to make like the robots. I've seen videos of like the robots.
You see the ones in China?
Yeah.
With like the actual real life female, bro. They're crazy.
They
bro.
make sure they curvy and everything.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, Tyler. They know what they're doing, bro.
Like, yo, why she thick for
like,
her,
damn, bro? It's like I'm feeling things I shouldn't be feeling.
Bro.
Like this is wrong.
It's like, yo, she's actually not real, which is crazy. Which is crazy because she looks real.
Like she is real, though.
For real, bro. It's like, y'all sure?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I think a huge part of a couple of the reasons why men are kind of just giving up. I think we don't see the light at the tunnel, which is unfortunate. But it's just kind of the world we live in. It's 2025. I think both men and women, we don't appreciate each other, and because of that, we kind of give up. You know, if I keep getting told not to approach, after a while, you know, you start to take the hint.
That's a good point, Tyler. That's a very good point. If you keep telling us to not approach you after a while,
Take the hit.
We're gonna listen. The thing, and where I personally believe that where we all went wrong, women and men included. In my personal opinion, it's essentially when like we decided, either as a society, I'm not sure if men decided this alone, I'm not sure if women decided this alone, but we would essentially punish good behavior and reward bad behavior.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the correlation with that came in, why we thought that was a good idea. Don't know, but it's something we've done. And because of that, it's poisoned the minds of both young men and young women alike. Young men, we see how some girls get treated and they stay with them. And then we see how we treat them and how we were told to treat them, and we don't get the same play. You know, I'll even throw myself into the I guess to the fire, the flames, or whatever it's called. When I was raised off of women are not superior, but like they're these special creatures that you protect them, you provide for them, that whole thing. They're these princesses that can, in my mind, I thought do no wrong and all that type of stuff. Very much the Disney fantasy, like, you know, they're just these princesses. And I noticed growing up, like whenever I treated girls good or was like really nice to them, you never really got me to where I wanted to go. Now, I really never understood this, didn't get why this. It frustrated me to no avail.
Thanks.
What changed for me is when I went to college. I stopped being nice, and I started actually acting like the guys I didn't like. The guys who, in my mind, I thought were douchebags. Other words that I don't want to say, but just really not just pleasant people to be around. And what I noticed was I was rewarded for that behavior with women.
This is crazy.
So you can understand my frustration as an 18-year-old young man of having to go through all these years of being nice, pretending to be friends or wanting to be your friend, doing all these things. Listening to you complain about like your ex-mans or the guys that you're talking to who's treating you like crap or doing this, that, the other. Only to find out that that's what you want in the first place, or by some weird thought process, young women specifically think that's okay. I don't know. Don't know why y'all do it. Maybe it's because it's the whole you feel on the edge. You feel
like bad boy.
Yeah, the whole bad boy thing. Like, oh my God, like he's so unpredictable. But I must say, I got very much discouraged. And had I been someone else, to be honest with y'all, I think I would have given the ball together. Because I'm like, yo, I have to change who I am for you ladies. I have to be someone I'm not. I'm not the type of dude who curses at his girl and, like, you know, treats her terribly. But it seems like, at least the women who I was dealing with in the past, that's what they liked. And that's what they responded well to. And when I treated them nice, they ain't really like that. I bought a girl flowers one time and she broke up with me. I'm like, damn, man, what are we doing? Do girls not like flowers?
I don't know. Flowers led to my demise, but there's a couple other things.
Yeah, there's a couple other things that played into that part of well.
Yeah, I can't relate truly on what Trey said, but flowers also led to my demise. I ain't gonna lie to you, Playboy.
But overall, man, like, for both young men and young women, you know, a lot of young women don't know how to be treated by a young man and vice versa. It's unfortunate for both sides, you know. I only really see it from the young man's perspective because that's what I am, you know. I only have a young man's perspective because, like, you know, of course I have girlfriends and all that, but like,
you would never fully know what they live and what they do.
Yeah, of course, you know. So yeah, of course there's gonna be a little bit of biases there, but I still understand like their perspective too, and like I understand that like there's not a lot of good dudes out there, you know. There's not a lot of good men to be found, but the ones that are good ain't really trying to be found anymore because y'all chased them all away.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of like the unfortunate truth, but a lot of men I think kind of gave up. They've kind of just lost faith in it all, which I can kind of see both ends of it. You know, I can understand losing. At least I kind of understand losing faith, and I guess the reason why I said that is because when you've kind of been treated a certain way over and over and over, when you've gone through certain experiences over and over and over, and you feel like either you keep getting led astray, you keep being done wrong, or what you're doing kind of just isn't working, I can understand why after a while you're just like, yo, should I even continue to try? Should I even continue to do this? But at the same time, a part of it just, as a man, I like women. I don't think that would ever change. So, like, that kind of makes it hard, at least for me personally, to quit. But also, too, like, what's the alternative? Yeah, you could just sleep around, which is fine, but you get no real meeting. So, and it's cool now, but when you're like 80 and alone and got nothing to show for it, then you might have kind of maybe wished that you didn't quit. So it could be a double-edged sword, you know? Not everybody is fine being 80 and alone. You know, that's a reality that you kind of have to take into effect. And as a man, or really as a person, if you're able to handle that, then that's cool. Not everybody's meant to be with somebody. You know, some people are stronger than others mentally and have no problem being alone at 80. But I feel like there are more people out there who have a little bit more of a problem with that, you know? Because also you got to think, too, if you're 80, your parents are gone.
Yeah.
So
most people from your generation aren't really.
Yeah, you don't have, you know, we'll see how many friends you got. Yeah. But your friends are either gone or, you know, if everyone's 80, me and Trey the same age. Obviously, I would hope that both of us are in great health at 80, but we definitely won't be moving around the same that we are at 24.
Yeah.
So that would be different. If you have any siblings, some people don't have any siblings.
True.
So you'll just be alone. Or if you do have siblings, you got to hope they're alive.
Yeah.
Let alone you're in good standings with them.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22 because you also got to think long term. Being in our age and then like kind of giving up forever on relationships, you kind of got to think long. You got to think long term. You got to understand what that comes with. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with it, but like anything in the world, you have to be able to accept the consequences that come with it. Consequences, good and bad. I'm not trying to say consequences as a negative term, but you got to accept what comes with it.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to add something to what you just said there. And it's kind of why I might have lost faith, but that didn't deter me from stopping to try. I think that's how you say it better.
I understand.
And it's because, like, it's the long game, I think, at the end of the day. It's what you want. And I actually, unfortunately, do believe a lot of people, regardless of how they might feel, are still going to end up alone. But I still think at the end of the day, you got to put some semblance of effort in. So you still have to try. Yeah, I think you still got to try, you know. And a lot of people, which I think is beneficial for those who still are willing to try, but a lot of people have given up.
A lot of people have given up. It's very easy to give up. There are times where I think about giving up. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I ain't going to do this, bro. I'm going to just be celibate. Or I guess it'll be abstinence. I'd be abstinent for the rest of my life. And just be like, yo, devote my life to God and kind of just live it like that. A part of me wants to give up too. But then also there's a part of me that's like, all right, bro. Like there's like two sides. There's like the irrational that's like fed up, and I'm kind of like, yeah, F this. And then there's the rational that's like, all right, bro, you're 24. 9 out of 10, majority of the relationships you're going to get in now probably aren't going to work. There's a chance you get lucky and you can find your wife now, but like this is kind of just a part of learning what you might want and how you want to structure your life. At the end of the day, what do you really want? So like I would like a wife and kids, so it's like, well, you know that's what you really want. You might be frustrated now, but like I have a feeling that's probably never going to fully go away.
Do you date with intention, real quick? Just kind of because you said you want a wife and kids. Like when you date, do you date with intention?
Yeah, I'm gonna start dating much more now with intention.
You didn't do that before though. That wasn't your methodology before.
When I was younger, no.
Okay.
No, not really. Even though that's what I wanted, I just, I never really heard about dating with intention. Like when I was younger, like I've heard about it more now, but like I never really heard about, like.
Really?
Yeah, I always just thought you get a girl and then like we'll see how it goes, and then if things go well, then we get married.
Oh, fair enough.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I didn't necessarily think like, oh, okay, like let me go into this like, all right, for sure, like this is kind of what I want. And a lot of it too is I know more of now what I want than what I did at 18.
Yeah, of course.
So like I think a lot of that plays a role. is I have a more clearer view of how I would like my family to be structured, how I would like things to go, the type of woman I would like. I felt like I didn't fully
Know that back then.
know that at 18 years old, which I mean, how can you blame me? I had no experience.
Yeah, most of us don't.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you really know what you think you know what you want?
Yeah.
And then you go through an experience and you're like, oh.
Yeah, this isn't actually what I want.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I really want this. But you don't really know until you kind of, you know, you gotta.
I remember when I thought open relationships would be fine.
Yeah, and then you get into one, and then now what?
Yeah,
Now you're like, they're not as fun as what you think, right?
Not fine.
So it's, but you would never have known that if you never,
unless I actually gone through it.
Yeah. You know, you could have been now thinking now at 24. You know what? That's the wave.
Exactly.
So
yep.
Now though, now I'm going to start dating much more with intention. After kind of going through the couple relationships I've been with and understanding more of what I would like, now I'm kind of gonna go forward in that regard. I also feel like I'll waste less time.
Yeah,
and it's crazy. I was just
time.
I had a conversation today with my barber, and we were kind of like talking about marriage and stuff like that. And he brought that up too. He was like, "Listen," he was like, "Yo, next time you go on a date with a girl," he's like, "Yo, just be upfront. Let her know what you want." He was like, "Listen, I'm here," because he's a married man and all that other stuff. And he was like, "Listen, like, you want to be a husband? Tell her, listen, I want to be a husband, and I'm looking for a wife." He's like, "Trust me, the woman who don't really want you, or don't," let me rephrase that. He said, "The women that aren't really feeling that," he's like, "Trust me, they will leave." He's like, "They will not stay." He was like, if that's not what they want,
yeah, they're not gonna stick around.
They're not gonna stick around. If they're just looking for
fun,
food, and a good time,
yeah,
they gonna get that. So he was like, "Trust me, those women will leave you." And he was like, "When you do find a woman who's willing to, who that's what she wants to, then she'll stay around. And then from there, you figure out whether or not she actually is a good woman, actually the woman you want." And he was like, the easiest way is just knowing what you want, having your set in morals and standards, and when you do date, let them know what it is.
And then having them determine whether or not that fits into their...
Yeah, I saw another video. There was this dude, he's actually a pastor. And I guess he dated around, and then he made a decision. He was like, "Listen, from here on out, I'm basically giving my life to the Lord, and whatever woman that comes into my life, I'll let her know, listen, like, I ain't trying to sleep with you."
Damn.
I'm giving my, he was like, "I ain't trying to sleep with you. I'm looking for a wife. I'm looking for a woman of God. Like, this is what I'm looking for." He was like, and from here on out, that's how. And he said he went on a date with a woman. She got in his car. Before they left, he told her everything. "Hey, I ain't trying to sleep with you. I need a woman who all this other stuff." He said she got up and left right there. She was like, "Yo, I told her that." She got out the car, closed the door, went back inside.
Yeah.
He was like, "All right, cool."
At least you know.
He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You know what? That's the happy." He was like, "I was so happy because now I ain't have to waste my time."
Yeah.
He was like, "Cool.
Yep.
I know what it was."
Yep.
And sure enough, he did that with his wife, was now to be wife.
And she stuck around. The ones who were supposed
and
to
she
will.
said, and she stuck around.
Yeah, the ones who were supposed to will, man.
And now he's been married, I don't know how long, but basically that's kind of how the story will end. And that kind of got me thinking, like what the barber was saying and kind of what you were saying as well with the whole dating with attention. It's like, dang, imagine if we were kind of just, and a lot of people aren't like that, but imagine if you sat down across from a girl or even a man and you told him exactly what you wanted. That's like foreign.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. I think it's more of a lost art. Foreign makes it seem like it's never happened or it just rarely happens.
I don't think it happens that much anymore.
That's why I think it's a lost art. I think this is something our ancestors, our elders used to do, and we just don't do it anymore because of social media. It's just not... I think social media has just disconnected us in trying to connect us. So, and because of that, we can't converse with each other. We don't know how to express ourselves. We don't know how to, tell people what we want. We don't know how to either articulate our points or, just kind of convey our feelings.
Do you date with intention?
I didn't with my first girl because I always knew of dating with intention, but I just wanted a girlfriend, so I was just kind of like...
That's fair. That's
care.
Fair.
I just didn't care. But yes, I do. It's why... Well, not anymore, but my friends that I had in high school used to make fun of me. essentially that I've turned down more girls than I've been turned down by. Which I mean, it's an interesting little tidbit there, but
I mean, you got standards,
because of yeah, you can say I have standards, but because of that, I'm very particular with the women that I guess I would say I get in relationship with. In addition to that, my mother told me as a kid, whatever woman that you sleep with, make sure that you're okay with her, like being the mother of your child, like getting pregnant.
Because if she gets pregnant, bro, you got to deal with her for
Yeah,
her.
and I've turned down a lot of women because of that, man. Sometimes, as a man, it does kind of irk me because I'm like going through periods of women throwing it at you, and then going through periods of
Like being in a drought.
yeah, and then you remember the times that you did have it like that, and you're just kind of like, damn.
Maybe I should have.
Yeah, for real. So I've had to deal with that a lot, but like I think it saved me tremendously from dealing with women that, in my personal opinion, though they might make good mothers eventually, in that moment or at that time,
You ain't really ready.
it wouldn't have been conducive for either of us. So
Yeah, that's what I think about a lot now, and to me it's a little scary, a little nerve wracking. That's why, like, especially now, like, really just trying to be smart with who I end up like sleeping with is because the fact that there's a chance that literally this one night of fun can turn into we're in each other's life for a minimum of 18 years.
bro, what's his name's ex-girlfriend going through that right now? Quinn.
Damn, that's rough. Yeah. She had it with like just
One night stand.
And that's
messed around with somebody.
That's what I'm scared about, bro. That's what I'm scared about.
Whole key.
Because I know I want to be in my kid's life. So I'm like, dang, I'm going to have to end. I got to hope that you a good mother.
True. Yeah.
Because if I just met you, I don't really know. I don't really know.
You haven't had enough time to...
No, I don't know your character. I don't know how you carry yourself. I don't know any of that. And it takes a decent amount of time to figure that out, you know?
Yeah, years.
It takes years to figure out whether it's someone... Because you could... And my dad told me this. He told me this a lot, especially when I was going over to the Philippines. He was like, be very careful because... He was like, listen, people pretend. He was like, you could be there for a couple weeks, especially because you ain't there for a long time.
True.
People pretend.
Yeah.
You know, they could come up and they're going, because maybe the fact that you might be from America or just because they might see some type of potential in you, they're going to carry themselves a certain way and show you the best that they possibly are. People can pretend. And I'm not saying just over there, but anywhere. Anybody you meet, especially in the beginning, it's easy to pretend, especially in the beginning. I know nothing about you, know nothing about me.
Yeah, you take all their words face value.
Exactly.
Because it's like, why would you lie to me?
Why would you, exactly. It's like, yeah, why would you lie to me this early? Little do you know, they could be someone completely different.
Yep.
But only time is going to eventually kind of show their true self. So it's very, very dangerous, man. It's very dangerous. That's the one thing that kind of scares me sleeping around. Is the fact that, like, you can have my child. And if you're not the type of mother I would like to raise my child, this is very unfortunate.
Yeah, man, that's true. Kind of going into the next topic, is marriage outdated? Similar kind of subject, frankly. I don't know if I would say it's outdated because I believe the purpose of marriage is for, like, children. And if you still want to have kids, I think having them in a marital home is the best way to raise them, in my opinion. Yeah. I guess if you wanted to say it's outdated, I can see it being outdated in the lens of we live in a more modern, progressive time, and I feel like marriage is more traditional, where it's more traditional conservative.
I think marriage is more traditional conservative, and I can understand the argument when people say it's outdated because of the time that we live in. I know back in the day, people would literally save themselves for marriage, but now you don't really have that. It's like you don't need to have sex and be married now.
No, you don't even need to
like back
be married to have kids.
Yeah, like people are fine just popping out kids like this, having sex like that, and like there's no problems at all. I can understand why people say it's outdated, but I don't necessarily believe that it's outdated. I still think marriage is a good thing, especially in terms of just being committed to one person. I think that's strong. It takes a lot to be committed to one person. I think also in the religious sense, the whole point of it was so you can now be one person, in the eyes of God, and work on your relationship together with God and stuff like that. You're not supposed to have sex outside of marriage due to religious reasons. Same with not even supposed to have kids outside of marriage as well. So all that plays a role. I don't necessarily think that it's outdated, but our actions have kind of proven that we are, to a certain extent, getting away from marriage. I'm not sure how it was back in the day, but I do know now a lot of people are like, don't get married, don't get married, don't get married.
It's just we've changed our values, Back then we valued family. Now we value more
individualism.
Yeah, individualism. So because of that, women aren't really pushed to be mothers, and men aren't really pushed to be fathers. We're all just pushed to be our own person, and because of that, you just do you. So I don't have to focus back in and even us as men, kind of thinking about it. Both me and Tyler, we're 24, going to be 25. We would be pressured 80 odd years ago. We'd be pressured to pick up wives. It was why aren't you married by now?
Yeah,
it would happen just for us guys and girls too. It's yo, why are you're 18 now? Why aren't you taking up a wife? Why haven't you gone out on the farm and done? Because that's the values they had then. We've gone away from that now. Now it's more, what are you doing in your 20s to make yourself a better person? How are you working on your career? How are you kind of focusing on your own personal growth? All good things. All good things for both men and women, Girls are getting into their career fields. More of them are going to college. More of them are getting into STEM fields. More of them are getting into higher earner jobs that they want to get into, which is wonderful. But at the same time, relationships aren't happening because those same young women and those same young men are told to forego relationships in their youth to chase either careers or success, only to end up in their 30s or 40s wondering, after they've gotten to success, where's your significant other? It's kind of well, you've used your years to build yourself, which is fine, but our society's just gone away from family.
Which is wild to me. Because at the end of it, kind of like I was saying earlier, at the end of it, all you got is family.
Yeah.
When you're 80 years old and you're retired, it don't matter how much money you done made. It don't matter that you gave your life, that you gave 30 years to this company and all this other stuff. But who's around you?
Mm-hmm.
You ain't going to be going to work no more.
No.
You ain't going to be running. No. Even if you're Elon Musk or whatever, I have a very high suspicion that he won't be running Tesla at 80.
Chances are you have some kind of CEO.
Somebody, he probably chilling. So at this point, who are you around?
Yeah. Definitely, man. Definitely. I don't know. I think that's just the way our society's going to go. I actually kind of wanted to touch on this real quick, too. I took this screenshot on December 16th last year. And I did this mainly for myself just because, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't know if I want to get married. I do sometimes, but I don't. It wavers, I see the quality of women we have in America.
It's scary. Bro.
Don't get me wrong. They're not all bad, but I do think a lot of them are bad. A lot of self-centered people out there, both men and women alike, of course. And they're just willing to sacrifice you and kind of leave you out to dry.
But I don't mean to cut you off.
Of course. What you got to say?
People today, bro, everyone lacks integrity, bro.
Yeah.
Everybody really just wants to be, I guess you could say, selfish. Everyone really just wants to care about what they do.
Yeah.
How do their actions affect them, and that's it. Crazy enough, even in relationships, bro.
Yeah.
They'll literally just think about how their actions affect them, even in a relationship, even in something that you're trying to grow.
Not how it affects you, too.
Exactly.
Not how you might feel about it.
Yeah, bro.
Very selfish.
She don't think about anything else, bro. She don't think about how this may affect you. She don't think how this might change your life. It's just how it affects her. And I know men do it both ways. I'm just using her as an analogy, whatever. But she not really thinking about you, bro. She ain't thinking about how this might ruin your life or how this might hurt you, how this might change your plans that you might have had for the future or any of that. And it's so messed up, man. There's a lot of relationships like that where it's just everyone's kind of just so selfish and it's very self-centered. And it's messed up because it's hard to get close to somebody like that. It's hard to actually start to build something when it's like, dang, you only told me this because you wanted to see how this would benefit you, or you lied to me about this because you were afraid of how this might affect you, or it's kind of foul, man. I think we lack integrity, bro. We lack character. We lack genuine care for each other, bro. We just care about ourselves.
And no accountability either.
Facts.
Don't do something and you're not taking accountability for it. No
Facts.
apology, no nothing. Just moving on. All right, so like as I was saying earlier, this is essentially just kind of like a list of things that you either want to talk to your partner about before you get married, or like ideally not like through the process of getting married. Like you want to speak about this before. So the first thing on the list was discuss bills. My assumption is just kind of like who's paying for what, either that or who has debt, whether it be college debt, credit card debt, that type of stuff, just bills that need to be paid. Yeah, just kind of discussing the finances.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Parenting styles. I think this is really good because some people parent differently. You know, some think that it's perfectly fine to hate your kids when they act up. Others think that you just put them in timeout. You know, others think that you just talk to them. So I think that is a good conversation to have with your significant other, whether that be your husband or your wife, because it'd be kind of awkward if, you know, abusing your kid when you're not supposed to.
Abusing your kid.
Yeah.
That would be awkward.
So the next two things, it just says credit card and debt. So
credit card debt, that's different than the bill.
Credit card
debt, yeah.
Yeah, credit card debt, all kind of one thing together. And religion. Now, I know religion can be a little bit iffy for a lot of people. I think it's still a conversation that needs to be had.
I think it's a huge conversation.
Especially if you yourself are a religious person. I believe me and Tyler were probably having this conversation last year, something about being like equally yoked and trying to find like a woman who ideally believes the same thing that you do. I would suggest if you are a religious person, finding someone who is religious too, and ideally the same religion as you.
Right.
So you have the same beliefs. I guess you could also get with a person who isn't religious, but I think it puts a strain on the relationship at times when like you might want to do something for your religion and they might not want to, or vice versa.
Sure.
The next one it had was how to deal with family. So how you guys will essentially deal with your like extended family, like mothers-in-laws, brothers-in-laws, kind of like how they will affect your marriage and your relationship kind of going on. I know I've heard of stories of evil stepfathers and evil stepmothers that, you know, either hate the fiance or so forth. You know, they just don't like the bride or just don't like the groom, and you know, it puts a lot of stress on the family. So getting along with your boyfriend or girlfriend's family, I think, is quite important.
Yeah, it'd be awkward if like they hate you.
Yeah. What beliefs will be installed in your children? I think this also has to do with parenting styles, to be honest with you.
That kind of all fits under the same umbrella.
But kind of going into it anyway. I think this is kind of like the morals and the beliefs that you'll teach them, you know, kind of like what, you know, proper manners, those type of things.
Kind of like the foundation for the household.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, please, you're welcome, those kinds of things. Teach them manners, teach them morals, teaching them standards, teaching them
how they need to
principles, take care of themselves. Just being, I guess, just a regular day-to-day human being, man. Childhood traumas. So I guess any traumas that y'all went through individually, as a kid, that might end up coming back and affecting your relationship or just you as a person. I know a lot of people have a lot of things that they.
I think everyone deals with trauma. Everyone has had something in their life that's probably kind of affected them in a certain way. Some stronger than others, though. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So speaking about that ahead of time will help out tremendously.
For sure.
In my opinion, I think that your significant other or your husband or wife can help you through the process. You know, they can be like your best friend and, you know, kind of like give you another perspective, or you can kind of like vent to them and just have someone listen to your story even if you don't want to hear another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I just think telling that to your significant other would be a good idea. Sexual expectations. I kind of feel like that's
Self-explanatory.
yeah, it's just kind of like what you expect in the bedroom, that type of stuff. Um, so you have sexual expectations, then you have partner expectations. So how I expect you to act in this relationship, in marriage. I think for a lot of people, they start out chasing their partner. They start out doing all the things that they essentially have to do to get your partner. But once you kind of get them, you stop because you kind of already got them, and you're just kind of like, all right, well, why even bother anymore? Like, who am I trying to impress? I think you got to keep that going, and that's just kind of like the expectations that you have for your partner, your person, whoever that may be. Having an idea of, okay, I expect you to do this on certain specific days. I know for the girls, they want to kind of go out on like nice little date nights with their husbands and such like that. So like, all right, are we doing that every weekend, every other weekend, every month? We're gonna go out, send the kids to grandma and grandpa's, and like we're gonna go out and have our own time. Husband having his time to himself, wife having her time to himself, those types of things. So kind of like how the relationship is going to work, and how you expect your partner to act in certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Definitely.
All right. So we got financial expectations, just what you expect from your financially from your partner. Family health history, I think, is extremely important too. Just kind of like why, like what kind of
what are you predisposed to?
Yeah, so because some people unknowingly have like autism in their family, something like that. So you'd probably want to know about that ahead of time.
A lot of that affects your kids.
Yeah, exactly. Could possibly affect your children. Any diseases that might come to fruition in the future because of it. So all things to be spoken about, in my opinion. All good stuff. Mental health history, also good. A bucket list. I'm not sure what the bucket list would be for though.
It's things you want to do before you die.
Oh,
a lot of people have bucket lists like I want to skydive before I die. Or I want to do this before
things you want to do. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I guess you could talk about those things before.
Could be a bucket list before you want to have kids.
It's just kind of like what you want to mark off. Yeah, I could see that. Last three was dream home, careers and education, and political views. So dream home, simply put, it's just where you want to live.
Yeah,
career and education, just kind of like what you guys do. I know in 2025, women seem to want men who have bachelor's degrees, and like I don't know, I've met some really cool dudes who just have a GED and just associates. So I know career and education is quite important for some people, but I don't think that should be.
Also, your degree doesn't necessarily indicate how much money
you make, yeah. And then, of course, political views. Now, in my opinion, I think you could be a Democrat and a Republican and get together and still be cool. But
100%.
Not everybody can do that. Especially last year during the election, I learned that a lot of people really can't get together just because of the whole political views things, which I think is just stupid. I just think it's dumb.
Well, I think people make their political views their identity.
Yeah, and it's just like, why?
When you make it your identity, then it's like...
I've heard people say they don't want to hang out with someone just because they think of the opposite way. It's just like, why is that?
That's stupid.
That makes me not want to hang out with you because just kind of like, why are you thinking that way? But anywho, those are... I took that screenshot mainly just for myself to things that I can think about. Like I said, I really don't know if I want to get married, especially with just how modern day women are acting in America. But if I do want to get married, or if I do consider marriage, these are some things that you should probably consider to yourself if you want to do that as well.
There's a book out there. I haven't read the book, but I recently found out about the book. Apparently, it's like cheap. I think it's like $5.
Oh, wow.
But the book is like 101 questions to ask your spouse before getting married.
I think that's a good book.
The effects. I'm going to read it. There's this guy. His name is Patrick Bet-David. He's a very successful dude. But that's what he did. Like on his second date with his wife, that's what he did. Like they had their first date, and then the second day he was like, he took her to the bookstore and bought her that book. And she was like, "What is this?" And he was like, "Yeah, like I'm not." He's like, I done already dated. Like, I'm looking for a wife. So he was like, if we are actually going to take this seriously, we need to sit down and, like, answer every single question in this book. And then he was like, the next time he saw her, they sat down for, like, 6 hours and literally went through every single question in that book. And then after that, he was like, all right, she's someone who I could start a family with.
Mm. Actually, I haven't read the book or anything like that, but I played a game like that one time.
Really?
Like a card game, yeah.
Was it about marriage?
It wasn't about marriage, but it was like relationships. So like people in relationships. Like the two people who are playing the card game is like them getting to know each other.
Oh, okay. How'd you like the card game?
It was cool. I will say this: it wasn't something that I would have brought up, but the girl I was with, that's something she quite enjoyed, and she wanted to like
do it.
Yeah, so yeah.
You found you learned a lot from her just from answering those questions.
Yeah, because like they were very much open-ended questions, kind of like.
So she had to sit there and explain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's solid. I think those are always good in terms of just getting to know somebody. Ask also questions that you probably aren't necessarily thinking about.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know, not to be cocky or anything, but I consider myself quite advanced in regards to socializing at this point. So I actually just kind of rely off my own questions. But I completely understand wanting to get to know someone that way and just using the game. I would personally use the book personally, but I can understand.
Yeah, I would personally lose the book too because the book. I mean, listen, I do not know the card game you played, but the book has like a specific intention. Mm-hmm. Like the book is like specifically for this.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool.
I don't know. That might be more of a get to know you game, but I don't really fully remember.
It might be a more probably get to know you.
I don't think it's a marriage game.
Nah, I doubt it. It's probably more of a get to know you game. But either way, I think it's good. So that's why you reading that kind of reminded me of that book. Like I said, I haven't read it or anything, but I'm probably eventually going to buy it, eventually going to read it. And whatever girl I feel like, all right, I'm kind of liking you, then I'll see if she's willing to read it as well. So I also talked to my barber today about marriage. I asked him, does he think it's worth it? He's like in his 40s. I was like, do you think it's worth it? He actually said yes. You know what's crazy? I know online there's a lot of videos of men saying don't get married. Every man I've asked in person, though, all said yes.
Really?
Every man I've asked in person all said yes.
Interesting. That's the opposite for me.
Well,
and I'm talking not just over like just a couple years that I've asked, but over my lifespan of asking this question since I can at least remember from 18. I've had more men tell me don't get married than to do get married. I will admit that, yes, they definitely tell me to do it because, children and that whole thing. But I've had more dudes tell me that if they could do it again, they wouldn't. So I shouldn't. So I guess that's a little bit different there.
Yeah, crazy enough. All the men told me, yeah. All the men said there's worth. All the men say it's worth it.
Yeah, Ron was like, don't do it. Winder was like, don't do it. Chris was like, don't do it. Frankly, just from what I remember right now, they were like, yo, don't do it.
What was their reason?
Their reasoning were, frankly, they also asked me if I wanted kids. Because that was like another portion of I guess their reasoning too. They're like, if you don't want kids, it's really not like worth it for us men. It just comes kind of like, well, why? It's just kind of like why have them if not for children? So they're like, listen, do you want kids? And when I answered, I was like, I'm not really sure. At those moments, I think I was 21 or 20 at the time. I think maybe 21, 22, because I was doing security work around that time. They were essentially like, if you don't want kids, it's just really no point. That's why earlier when I said is marriage outdated, I don't think it's outdated if you want kids. Because I think that's the whole point of marriage.
What if you don't want kids?
Yeah, just no point. What you get married for?
So you think it's outdated? If you want kids?
Yeah, if you don't want
kids.
Yeah, if you don't want kids, there's no point. I don't think there's a point in marriage. But if you do want kids, then yes, you should. I think you should consider marriage. I don't think you should do it outside of wedlock, ideally.
The barber was telling me how one, he said he thinks it's worth it because I guess in his case, I know not every man has this case, but his girl made him better.
That'd be nice.
And then he also said
I wish that
kind
was
of
the case.
the argument I was saying earlier. He was like, if you don't, he was like, once you hit a certain age, all that dating around gets old. He was like, once you hit like 40, 43, all that dating around gets old.
Yeah.
And then he also talked about, he was like, yo, like, what are you going to do when you old? He was like, he was like, yo, his parents are divorced. He was like, my mother sits in an apartment all day and watches TV, and my dad sits in an apartment all day and watches TV, mad as hell. And he was like, well, if they were probably together, they would probably be at least somewhat happier because you have someone that you're with, someone to share your time with, especially when you're old and things aren't the same. Also, having people around now depends if you got kids or not, but watching older people working in hospitals, you don't realize how fast your mental deteriorates, especially if you have nobody to talk to. And having somebody at 80 years old that you can talk to and bounce off of and actually be with benefits you mentally because you're still stimulating your mind. Also, kind of look at Doug. Doug is a teacher at 80-something, but he married and can still talk to his wife and all this stuff.
I understand where you're coming from. And you know, I can't take away too much from your arguments there.
I guess where he was coming from. This was more.
Yeah. I guess these are technically his points. You're more just relaying them to me. Yeah, I see that, but there is still the saying that I'd prefer to be alone than be with someone that's gonna make me miserable. And I think a lot of times, yeah, you know what? There is something to be said. Maybe his mother and father would be happier together, but at the same time, they got a divorce. So who's to say they wouldn't be more miserable? You know, I've seen plenty of times where people stick it out for the sake of the kids or whatever reason, and they're like, yo, if I could go back and just one and done, get the divorce and get rid of it, I would have done that instead. Just not stick with this person who I don't fancy being around. It was kind of like, what's the point? I also think, I know as humans we're social creatures. We are, and, you know, you can't just go years without not talking to nobody, nothing like that. Yes, I'm not gonna disagree there, but like, you can like learn to be alone, you know. And I think that's just what a lot of people are going to have to do. You just got to learn to be alone. Because not everybody's going to have a significant other when they're 80 that they can rely on. It's just not everybody's going to have it like that. It's just not the case. It's one, there's more women than there are men. Two, majority of young men ain't want to date in the first place. And the young women aren't either dating themselves or dating older dudes. So it's just kind of like, yo, what are we doing? Just be happy being alone. I think that's just what you got to be. You have to be that way at this point. It's either play the game, you sleep around, or you don't.
See, I feel like the way you're thinking about it is the long term. Yeah, you could be happy being alone now. But like having that to say, I think things truly changes when you're older. So like, cool, what you're saying works now for a 24-year-old man, 25-year-old man. But I don't think that same argument really works the same for an 80-year-old man. Or
what about a dude who's in his 50s?
Does it work for a dude in his 50s?
Yeah, so I'm not 80, I'm in my 50s.
You know, maybe it does. Maybe it does. But also, I do think as we get old, I think a 50-year-old man doesn't want the same thing as me and you.
No. I mean, I think there's something to be said about that, but at the same time, you could be wrong.
You know what? I could be wrong, but I feel like if 50-year-old men wanted more what 20-some-year-old men do, there'd be a lot more 50-year-old men hanging out with people our age. A lot of people stay within their age groups. I think there's a reason for that. I hang out with 50-year-old men at work because I got no choice. But when I come out, I don't have 50-year-old friends. And no 50-year-old friend is really seeking to be my homie. And I think that plays a role. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a 50-year-old that you're cool with and you talk to. But he's more likely to be your mentor than your friend, than somebody that, you know.
Just because of the age?
I think because of the age plays a role, but I think it's where they are in their life. And I think it's what they want out of life.
You haven't come across like either girls or guys who are just friends with like majority just older people?
Not that I know of, but older people in terms of how much older.
All right.
Because I'm friends with some older people.
For instance, this was actually when we were doing our undergraduate, funny enough. I met this young lady. She told me herself she doesn't have friends our age, like young adult friends. She's like, yo, all the friends that she has are just in the 30s or 40s or 50s. And I'm like, yo, how does that happen? She's like, those are just the people who she's spoken to and talked to her.
I can give 30s and 40s. I don't necessarily believe 50s, unless if she is telling the truth. I think she's a part of the minority, not the majority.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I don't think that's the majority.
So, yeah.
Definitely
So, I
think
mean,
that's
like, obviously, I don't know. She could be truly telling the truth. I think
took her word
for
for
her
it.
to be 20 and have
she would lie.
for her to be 20 and her to have friends in their 50s, I really just don't see, unless it's an older man trying to hit. I really just don't. I just don't really see that. And if they are friends, I feel like they're more like a mother figure or a mentor to her than like a friend. But let's say I'm completely wrong. Take her word for it. Take her benefit of the doubt. I still think she sits within the minority. I don't think that's normal though, because I just don't see a lot of. I don't see a lot of that. And also, a lot of people who are 50 and older view us as their kids.
Yeah, because chances are they have kids our age.
The people I work with, they more likely view me as their kid than they do as their friend.
Yeah, because they have kids.
And that's because their kids are literally my age. Their kids are literally 22, 24, 23, 21. So that's why they kind of view me in that sense. But obviously, I'm not their kid, and I'm a coworker of theirs, so they have to treat me with a certain level of respect.
Yeah.
But like just on a random, a lot of older people, they just don't have much in common. Especially if they already have kids, they're like, "Yo, I'm your father. Like I'm old enough to be your father."
I see where you're coming from.
So I don't know, but I do think there's something to be said about when you're older. I think a lot of that being alone stuff now is fine. And even while we're older, you know what? It's fine because like I said, and like you said too, not everybody's
a particular person, man, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think some people can just handle it easier than others.
Yeah. And I think not everybody's going to find somebody.
Yeah.
Some people are meant to be single. Some people are meant to be in relationships. It is what it is. But I think it's easier to be alone when you're 24 than when you're like 74. Because we got stuff to work towards. I think at 74, you kind of understand you got one foot in the grave.
Yeah. I guess I really can't fully disagree with you until I get to that age. But I just have a feeling that, especially, and maybe these dudes online are lying. Maybe they're capping and it's just none of this is true. But just from what I have seen from older men who are in their 50s and 60s who have either stayed bachelors their whole lives and chosen not to get married, or have gotten married and gotten divorced and never gotten married again and never dealt with any woman again, they have all said that they are perfectly fine and quite content being alone. And that's why I personally think it's person by person. I don't think everybody can handle it. I think there are going to be 70-year-olds out there who are perfectly fine being alone, and there's going to be 70-year-olds out there who can't handle it. They just need to have other people around them.
I think it helps if you have kids.
Yeah, I think it helps if you have kids, but I shouldn't say it, but it does help if you have kids. It helps more if you have like hobbies though if you don't have kids. So like you have other things to focus on. I
agree. I guess my only rebuttal to that is just like when you're that old, you don't know what type of health you finna be. So it might be hard for you to have hobbies.
Things like around the house. I ain't saying that you gotta go play pickleball or anything like that, but I don't know. You can take up gardening. That's not that taxing of a thing, especially if you're just watering plants. I don't know. What are some things you can do around the house as an old person?
I don't know, other than clean, which is a horrible hobby. Because also, if you live alone,
you can watch TV.
Yeah, that's horrible, bro.
You can watch the old people channels.
This is what I mean. Those are horrible.
They actually have good TV shows on the old people channels, bro. Good TV shows, like TV shows from like the 80s.
Like I said,
better TV shows than what we got now.
That's a horrible hobby. I still think that's a horrible.
You can
hobby.
read books.
All right,
it's just a pretty good hobby. You can play games.
For older people, typically ain't really playing games.
All right, yeah, but I have a feeling that 80-year-old me and you, I don't see us not playing Madden at that point.
No, we might not.
I would. There's no reason it's a game. I don't really see why you would stop playing games. I believe our generation will be the generation of gaming grandpas and grandmas. Because we grew up with it.
But you would stop playing games one, you might not have an interest for it anymore.
Nah, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I mean, you don't play with action figures, but you did when you were younger.
But but that's toys.
That's still a game, though. That's still playing.
That's I think toys and games are different. Games are a step up from toys because toys are what you imagine games to be as a kid.
Not necessarily.
Like in your head, how the game's looking is how the toys look to you as that child.
Nah, not for me. The toys look like toys, and what I was doing.
Well, I was imagining entire war scenes in my game, so that's just what it was for me. So I guess each kid is particular with that.
Yeah, but I still don't necessarily. I mean, yeah, you could play Madden, but who's to say that you might not want to? And yeah, you might play, but there might be a lot of other grandmas and grandpas who don't want to play Madden, don't know how to play video games.
Pick up bird watching.
Got into it. That's what I'm saying. These are not good hobbies.
I think those are good hobbies.
No, they're not.
You can just set up a bird feeder outside your house and just watch the birds come.
Those aren't good hobbies, bro.
What's a better hobby than Tyler? Because I'm over here actually trying to give hobbies, and you're just shooting down each idea.
Because they're really they're like of no substance.
Okay.
Besides, the only thing of substance you said was reading.
Nah, all of them are of substance.
No, they're
it's
not.
just different kinds of substance.
You don't need maybe gardening, but gardening you can't just water. You got to get down and, you know what I mean, get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
So you got to be of some
Get your gloves on.
Yeah, so that means you got to be of some type of physical stature just to do that.
Yo, you're acting like every 80-year-old person is like some paraplegic. They can't move. Like,
But
you'd still be able to
majority
move around.
Majority are.
Majority can't move?
Majority don't move well enough to where they could be. That's unfortunate. Well, thank you guys for listening. The camera just shut off, so we appreciate you guys.
Yeah. You know, the battery's probably low.
Yeah, facts. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for listening. We appreciate all the support that you guys continue to show. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Just type in NOA Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at NOA_podcast. You can find us on TikTok at NOA Podcast 1, as well as NOA Podcast 2. Once again, thank y'all for listening. We appreciate y'all. Y'all take care.
Have a good one.